Hi, and welcome to the Total Film spoilerific Iron Man 3 discussion. Just warning you now, there will be spoilers for the whole movie, so leave now if you haven't seen it, or if you just like watching people rant about stuff, feel free to stay. We will be talking about the action, we'll be talking about the massive twists, and fundamentally whether it was better than Avengers Assemble. So first up, initial reactions. What did you think, Sam?
Yeah, I loved it actually. It caught me completely off guard. It was sort of full of surprises and wonderful moments. I just can't believe how brave Marvel are to sort of go down that route with it. I can't wait to see what comes next in phase 2.
I have to admit, like, I went in not expecting anything at all. Like, I hadn't seen any trailers, hated Iron Man 2. I really wasn't looking forward to this at all. And as soon as someone said, oh, do you want to go see it? I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go see it. When I saw it, and was just absolutely smashed around the face with how much I absolutely loved it, I think.
Because, I mean, the initial trailer was pretty dark and kind of grim, and I think everyone went in thinking, oh, really? Like another one? And then it was actually, I thought it was the funniest one.
Definitely,
completely.
One line that I was laughing for like 10 minutes after and like missed loads of stuff as well.
Which one?
Like, it's the line, you know, when he goes, when he runs into like one of the goons and he just goes, I don't even like working here, man. They are so weird. I was laughing so much at that. It was awesome. I loved it.
I was going to say, I think we'll kind of come on to it in a bit, as in kind of what Shane Black brought to the series and stuff. But I found, from a comedy point of view, that was almost, that could have been like Austin Powers. You know what I mean? Like, it certainly like trod a balance, I felt, between, do you think it was too comedic, or do you reckon it was?
No, I don't. I mean, I can see some people might have a problem with it. I mean, certain scenes did feel definitely like a skit, like a movie awards skit. You know, like when, and it's an amazing scene, don't get me wrong, but you could totally see the bit where they uncover the Mandarin.
Okay, right, yeah.
You could see that being on the MTV Movie Awards completely, without changing it. However, it's amazing.
I suppose even the lead-in, do you know what I mean, with the flush of the toilet and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, that's fair enough. I can sort of see that, I guess, yeah.
What did you think, Matt?
Like we've already said, I thought it was extremely funny. I thought that was its kind of strongest selling point. And I think that kind of works for Iron Man, because to me, Iron Man, if it wasn't funny and if it didn't have Robert Downey Jr., who is very funny, it would just be quite boring. I think it would just be a generic superhero man in a suit, like a man in a kind of robot suit. Who kind of cares? But I think what makes it so good is the humour and Robert Downey Jr.
Well, his casting, like, to take it back to the original Iron Man, is fascinating, and the first sort of bit of bravery on Marvel's part, and that kind of set the tone for the whole of the Marvel movie universe. It's that decision. Whoever signed off on that needs a pat on the back, because it's had such an effect. You wouldn't have Avengers Assemble in the form it's in without Downey, specifically Downey as Iron Man.
We heard the other day that apparently he took home 50 million for, was it Iron Man 3 or Avengers?
Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers, because of the deal that he basically put in place at the beginning. But I think he's, again, not that I dabble in that kind of money, but I think he's worth every cent, because as you say, take him out of it, and what are those films? Well, they're still very good, but are they as charismatic? Are they as funny? I don't think they would be.
I even think, you know, it's not just his placement in those films, it's the very fact that he was cast in the first place that tonally affected that film so much, and that tone's carried on. Like, you know, Avengers Assemble is tonally much more similar to the original Iron Man than it is, you know, any of the other Marvel Universe films.
I think we'll go on to the massive, gigantic spoilers in a minute. But in regards to kind of Tony and his character, do you think there was enough for it being kind of a third movie? Do you think there was enough for him to do? Because by a threequel, usually they run out of ideas and he's just doing the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I mean, it felt at the end though, like the last sort of like, you know, sort of 5 minutes, it felt like they sort of had gone, like they really wanted to wrap it up, as in like the entire like 3 movies in like 5 minutes, and go, oh, maybe he hasn't gone on enough of a journey, which is something I had a massive problem with, was when they just, then he was just like all of a sudden, I'm just gonna have the operation to take out the heart thing. So that came out of nowhere. Like, I thought I'd missed something that he'd uncovered in the film that allowed him to have that operation, but no, he could have the operation at any time.
I think they did. I don't think it was necessarily described in the best way, but
Yeah.
because I read the comics, because I'm a nerd, the whole kind of extremist thing in the comics, that actually becomes a part of him.
Yeah,
so you know the throwaway line at the end when he said, "Oh, I've kind of fixed Pepper, and therefore I've also taken some of that on myself." I was under the understanding he had done something to himself that allowed him to maybe do that.
But that wasn't clear at all.
No,
it was sort of like a really, really quick thing, and he was just like, "Oh, and while Pepper was in A&E, I decided to have my heart
See,
fixed."
I don't know. I think that it's basically Iron Man is a superhero with a broken heart, basically, metaphorically and literally.
Indeed.
And over the course, of the 3 films, he's gone from being like, you know, one night stand ladies man to forming a grown-up relationship with Pepper. And over the course of the films, his heart has healed, and that's just, you know, representative of that. So there.
But then once you take away the thing that makes a superhero the superhero, like that's like in like the original Fantastic Four, when like Ben Grimm decides, oh, actually I'm going to have this little cure thing that makes me all right, and then he decides to make him. Then he makes the choice then to make himself the Thing again. Like, you lose so much of that character because the point of the Thing is that he hasn't got a choice. He has to be like this. And the same with Iron Man. Like, it's almost has that kind of big thing where he hasn't got a choice. He has to have this thing in his heart.
But the thing is, like, it depends on where they go next with it. But it is his main weakness physically. Now they've removed that, is he going to get more cocky? Is he going to get himself into more dangerous situations? And is that going to be his downfall? Who knows, I think.
I actually think that he's a character that supersedes the kind of origin. Do you know what I mean? Once he gets over that, there's so much more to explore. Batman, if he kind of came home one evening, his parents were like, "Surprise!" then the whole thing would kind of be done, because not only would he have a full-on breakdown, but you know, that's so integral to who he is.
I suppose,
Actually, there is a Batman story in which it's an alternate universe thing, in which his parents didn't die, but he still ends up taking the same path. But that's not relevant.
It's for another day.
But I mean, just very briefly, kind of wrapping up the Tony Stark kind of character development, I think it's kudos to Gwyneth Paltrow, actually, how integral Pepper has been, and the fact that actually she is as much a part of his development as anything else that's happened to him, and I think their relationship really.
What are you talking
the
about?
greyest female.
No. What are you talking about?
I can't stand it. That was one of the worst things about the film for me.
Really?
Oh, she's brilliant. I love that. His Girl Friday bantery.
Because she does have banter. It's not like she's insipid. It's not like she's like, "Oh, save me!" Like she's not a dumbass. I think that brings the warmth to it, and I think their relationship is very organic. It doesn't feel like two people acting; it just feels like two people bickering, like a normal couple.
I really like Gwyneth Paltrow in the Iron Man films, and I actually think that there wasn't enough of her in Iron Man 3, and I think that was a bit of a disappointment for me, because by the time we got around to her arc at the end, it almost didn't feel. I didn't feel that there had been enough build-up to that, and that we'd had enough Pepper to make that feel fully satisfying. It felt again a bit kind of tacked on, almost like after them kind of getting together at the end of Iron Man 2, and then obviously she very much a supporting little extra role in Avengers by necessity. Then you kind of wanted that to be developed more in Iron Man 3, and I felt like it was neglected a bit. And
what about even though she was kind of out for the majority of the middle stuff, do you not think the bits at the beginning and the end constituted enough of a kind of, obviously she saves him at the beginning, she saves him at the end, do you not think those two moments were kind of...
There wasn't enough for me, really. I thought that, not so much in the action, but I mean as in just between them two, I wanted a bit more, because obviously things have moved on for them, but we only really saw her in the action beats. I wanted to see them two together, kind of talking a bit more, really.
Go out on date nights.
On the plus side, we got to see a giant bunny. So
that was good. That bit was all good. I liked all that. Like Super Pepper was getting a little bit silly for me
at the end.
By the end,
I was going to say that segues nicely into kind of the first big spoiler thingy, which is I think we got kind of the Lego sets a while ago, and they gave away a vague spoiler in the sense of you saw her in like an Iron Man suit, and then the trailer revealed it. but I think I was expecting the bit at the beginning. I was not necessarily expecting the bit at the end where she went into full-on badass superhero.
When you think that she's dead, I was genuinely thinking like this is 100% the best Marvel film, because I just thought that was just such a brave thing. It was like the end of Dark Knight Rises when you think that Batman's dead, and you just think, my God, this is, you know, it's really brave that they've done this. Like, we're used to seeing people killed off on like TV shows and stuff all the time, but it barely ever happens in like, you know, big films. Like Coulson's come back somehow. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I thought when she was dead, I thought, oh, fair play. I have a lot of respect for this film. And then, obviously,
I have to say there are a lot.
Super Zombie Pepper comes back then. So.
There are a lot of surprises in Iron Man 3, but that wasn't one of them for me. Like the minute she went, you just knew she was coming back because the extremists. But I thought it was really cool, man. I liked the idea of.
It didn't get too silly. I thought it was going to get really silly, but it didn't get too silly, and it reined it in a little bit right at the end, and I thought that was really, really good. So I did enjoy it, but I did think it was going to go a really, really silly.
And it's cool, man, because like, you know, just as many girls as boys go to see these things, like little kids.
No, yeah, definitely. I thought that was really good.
I was going to say, I think
don't hate women.
just one
in particular, yeah.
I think, like, in regards to that, I was quite impressed because even though at the end she turned badass, even that is kind of in context of her character. It wasn't like she was an insipid librarian and then all of a sudden she had superpowers. It's always felt like if she could, she would be protecting him. So at the end, when I think the best bit for me was when she had like the armor as well as the extremist thing. I was like, that's
pretty badass.
And in terms of the relationship to Tony, I love the idea that he was sort of moping about at the start, going, oh, you know, I have to protect the one thing that I care about, and it's you. And it's like, actually, no, she saved him in the end. It's just a nice twist on that.
Do you think that's going to kind of evolve into, in the comics again, she becomes a superhero called Rescue? Do you think they're going to go down that arc? Or as in, do you reckon she'll be in the Avengers 2 in some form, when she's just beating someone up in the background?
Yes, I think she'll be in Avengers 2. No, I don't think she'll be super in it. I think that the stuff at the end where he said, oh, you know, you're right, in like a 15-second period he cures her of that and sorts himself out. But yeah, doesn't have the extremist stuff anymore. And I think she'll go back to being, you know, love interest.
I hope her part is even smaller than the part she had in Avengers. That's my wish.
See, yeah.
I kind of disagree again. I liked her in Avengers. I thought,
again, me
it
too.
just brought
And it was
because
really...
everyone else is all like mopey, and Captain America's going, oh, I'm all alone, and Hulk's like, oh, I'm going to kill everyone. That was like a nice little human moment before all the crap hit there.
Still like seeing her face.
But so moving on from that, obviously the next and probably the biggest surprise, which completely took me by shock, was the Mandarin.
Yes.
So how did you feel when that was revealed?
It was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't know too much about the Iron Man comics, and so I'm not overly familiar with the character of the Mandarin. But I loved what they did with that.
I've never liked Mandarin in the comics.
No.
Ever. I thought he was a boring character. As soon as they said Ben Kingsley was going to be playing a Mandarin, I checked out a little bit of that, and I just thought it's just such a bland, just rubbish character.
Actually.
And then, but what I think what they did with it was just amazing. Like, but when we saw the film Shane Black and the writer came out, and you know, they seemed really nervous when they introduced the film, and then someone I saw the film was like, no wonder they were so scared. Because they've changed like one of the biggest Iron Man villains ever into being like, what? Like,
it's a joke.
But
in such, I thought it was done in such a brilliant way, because I think obviously pre-release you had a lot of conversation or discussion about how they can do that character without being racist or without being kind of controversial, because not only was it an English guy playing technically kind of an Asian character, but the original character is such a stereotype. What it began as, then how can you even nail that? And I thought they did it brilliantly, because they led you up to it and they just pulled the rug out, and you were like, oh, okay, I did like the Mandarin in the Ultimate Universe, because he was a little bit more badass. He didn't seem so. He didn't have that long mustache and things like that. Exactly. But yeah, I just thought as soon as it happens, when he comes out of the little toilet, there's these two girls in the bed, and he starts talking.
Because that moment, actually, when they're going through the house and you see like the girls around and stuff, it's sort of disorientating in a weird way. You're like, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, just for like a few seconds. And then, like you say, the toilet flush, he comes out, and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe they're doing that. Because it's not just you know, it's an incredibly brave decision on Marvel's part because, you know, all the fanboys that could possibly rage. Yeah, but also it's incredibly clever in the way they've done all the marketing because, like, all the trailers and stuff have set up, you know, Kingsley as being this, and like there's loads of lines in the trailer that aren't in the movie.
Okay.
Like specifically talking about the Avengers and, you know, all the lesson 1 stuff. I mean, there is some lessons in there, but they're not the same as the ones in the trailer. But yeah, so in terms of like a misdirection or like a magic trick, like I just couldn't believe it.
And I think nowadays in kind of the world of Tinternet and all that kind of stuff, how they kept that a secret from everyone.
Well, it's misdirection, isn't it? You know, like he just really didn't see it coming. Weirdly, it's not actually that original though, because obviously Batman Begins does almost the same thing.
But not to such an extreme
not with,
kind of.
But in a way, not quite as extreme. But Henry Ducard, the character that Neeson plays, is an established character in Batman. And so, you know, I know when I heard that he was playing that character, I was like, oh, cool, that's amazing. And, you know, obviously he wasn't, but it's very different. But, yeah, not quite as extreme as the Mandarin.
Thing is, I mean, we've been privileged to see this pre-release, so we don't know what kind of the mainstream reaction is going to be. But kind of, I think some people are allowed to tweet their reactions after the screening, and I saw a couple of people grumbling. I mean, from my point of view, to get angry about that, from a fanboy point of view, I see it because obviously it's the equivalent of turning the Joker into kind of a practical joke. For Iron Man, he's kind of quintessential villain. But from a kind of just enjoyment point of view, I think you've got to be so curmudgeonly and so cantankerous to not just go with it, because you've got to just buy into it. These films are fun, you know, to sit there and go, oh, how dare they do this to me. Just enjoy it, you know. So what do you think about kind of the action in this one in comparison to the last couple?
I thought it had a couple of superb set pieces, especially for me the one that really stood out was when Tony Stark was sort of in the Mandarin's kind of lair type mansion place, and he had the sort of one arm of armour on and like the one boot and a gun, and where it felt a bit more stripped back. And again, I think it's kind of that thing with Iron Man where it's always at its best when it just is Robert Downey Jr. being as Robert Downey Jr. as possible and not just a kind of CGI man in a suit. So I think that kind of really stood out, and it was just kind of a thrilling action sequence as well.
Yeah, I thought they did well by keeping him out of the suit as much as possible. Like there's a bit where when they're like going onto the boat, him and Don Cheadle, it's like a Lethal Weapon movie. Like, it was awesome. Because it's just like they're not. But then the actual bits when he was in the suit, like jumping from suit to suit, I thought that was awesome. Because like the thing I didn't like about 2 is, and 1 to a degree, like it's just like, you know, 2 men in robot suits fighting each other, and it's like it's just boring. I don't want to see that. But then in the 3rd one, when all the suits turn up, like all those crazy suits, I did think, oh, this is going to be a bit overkill. But actually, the way they used them, the way that he was like jumping from suit to suit, like one would get wrecked, so he'd jump into the other one, like. I don't know, it was just a lot more enjoyable, I thought.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that because I think that Iron Man has the cleverest way of getting around the whole man in a suit thing. Like with Spider-Man, his mask just falls off at every opportunity. But that lovely HUD HUD, the heads-up display shot where you just see his face reflected with all the stuff going on. I think that's just a genius way of getting around that problem. I hate it in Spider-Man whenever the mask falls off.
It's always so convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And like no one ever remembers what he looks like for some reason. Why would they? Why would they?
But then the people who've played Spider-Man, and like, well, actually no, Andrew Garfield's gorgeous. I look at him all the time. But like, I didn't want to see Tobey Maguire's stupid little face. Like, I've got no interest. He's got no charisma at all. Whereas like with Robert Downey Jr. Like, you know, he's one of the most charismatic people in the world. I'm coming for them both.
I was going to say that kind of the other action scene for me that stood out, and I think I thought 3D was most impressive, was when he was doing kind of everyone was falling out of the plane. And it was, I think it was quite
incredible.
Forgettable in the grand scheme of things, but I loved it, and I even loved that bait and switch at the end, because I genuinely thought that was him in the costume for the whole thing, and it was like, surprise, he's just on a boat doing it.
Yeah, that sequence, as enjoyable as it was for me, and like it's just thrilling, kind of, you know, really good, the best use of 3D in the film, really. It sort of, to me, says something about the Marvel films in general. which I don't think is a problem as such, but it's the reason why I don't personally like them as much as I love, say, Christopher Nolan's Batman films, is that I think there's just inherently a lack of peril in the Marvel films, and in a way that kind of plays up to their kind of fun, like they are just incredibly fun to watch, and I'm not saying that's kind of a bad thing, but for example, that the pull at the end when you see he's controlling the suit remotely, it's kind of, why doesn't he just do that the whole time? Get everyone kitted out with a remote Iron Man suit in a safe dungeon, and then not put themselves in danger.
I've seen a few people complain about this recently, actually, specifically with the Marvel films, about how you never feel that anyone's in danger. And I do think that that is going to change for Avengers 2. I think that significant people are going to die. I think that Iron Man's going to die in Avengers 2. I know, you know, that's a bit of a leap, but the way this film wraps up his story, it is like a final film for sure. And I think that, you know, Downey's not going to make that many more of them.
No.
In fact, I don't think there's going to be an Iron Man 4. I think that Iron Man will next appear in Avengers 2, he'll die, and then they'll draft in Ant-Man or something to fulfill the crazy scientist mode. Yeah, Pepper Potts. That would be great. Spin-off, rescue.
I did, like, about the peril thing, I did generally think though that this is the first one where, because all the, like, right at the end, like in the reason I didn't like Avengers, or I didn't enjoy Avengers, because when all those space guys start coming down, they're just absolute fodder for everyone to start sweeping through and be cool on the screen and kill loads of stuff. Whereas with these guys, I felt like they were actually quite dangerous, and, you know, like, their job was like cutting through like arms and stuff like that. So I actually felt like they were in a little bit of danger. Like, they seemed to be always going for his heart as well. They seemed to like know what they were doing, and I generally did think, you know, a couple of times, like, oh, they are really in danger here.
I think, Matt, for you, is it more kind of the impact of the danger? So, like in The Dark Knight, for example, it still really surprised me when they killed off, what's her face? Maggie Gyllenhaal's character.
Oh yeah.
I was not expecting that, and that's someone who's pivotal to the story to him, who just dies.
That's amazing.
You don't really get that in the Marvel stuff. Is that what you kind of meant, or?
That's what I mean. I thought Pepper died, so I was like, yes, fair play.
I mean, that whole scene, like, with not only I just didn't really think that happened, but I just thought with the music and the way that scene played out with Pepper falling, I thought, no, there's no, like, Tony wasn't sad enough.
He
really
didn't
you
seem
knew,
to
like,
care.
the music and everything, you knew he was going to go and find her down in a couple of minutes. But yeah, I think, it kind of is that, I guess, that it feels like, I don't know, I suppose maybe because it has this that kind of inherently almost more kind of cartoony vibe than say the Batman films.
It's so cartoony, it was like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, and that again, that is one of its strengths and stuff. So I'm not saying I wish it was dark and gritty and everyone died, but it's just inherently, it's like a knockabout romp. You kind of know it's going to come to a big showdown with loads of robots at the end, and you know the good guys are going to win. And I mean, even as you kind of mentioned, with Agent Coulson coming back, it's kind of like the one kind of minor character they could get away with killing off. He's just back anyway. So
So kind of moving on to Shane Black and kind of the influence that maybe he had on the franchise. What do you guys think of him? Obviously replacing Favreau, who'd been there for a couple of movies, kind of steering the helm. How do you think he fared?
Oh, it was wonderful. I thought it really felt like a Shane Black movie. I mean, not just because it was set at Christmas for literally no reason. You know, like the bit where
that's a good point. The film's coming out in April. They set it at Christmas.
Yeah, completely.
There's no big holidays around April. Oh, actually, no, there's Easter.
There was a bunny.
There was a bunny.
But yeah. There's a scene where Downey's running through some Christmas trees and just it had this real Lethal Weapon vibe. And, you know, when he goes into the small town, that had kind of
I
like
love that little bit. It's such a small, tiny little bit of film. Like it's such a small, like really stripped back for a huge superhero film. Just hanging out with a kid for a while.
Yeah, and it was great. Their relationship was brilliant and full of one-liners. You know, quotable. Brilliant Shane Black lines. I thought he did a great job, and I want him to do more.
Everything.
Yeah,
I thought it was better than Favreau. I thought like it was directed better than Favreau. I thought it was written better than Favreau's ones. Like, I don't know. It just felt like It just felt like it was in a superhero film at times, which I really enjoyed. Like he was doing all these little tiny scenes, different. I don't know. I thought it was definitely the best Iron Man film.
For me, it had just such energy, like throughout the entire thing, and it just kept kind of going, even to the credits. And I loved, you know, the moment the credits kind of slammed in, loved it, the tone of it, everything. I just, thoroughly enjoyed it. And leading on to the big question, was Iron Man 3 better than Avengers Assemble?
Yes.
You didn't really like Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you not like Avengers Assemble?
I thought
What
it
is
was good.
wrong with you?
For me, though, Avengers Assemble has the same thing, and the reason that like, I'm about to compare Avengers Assemble to Pirates of the Caribbean, so sell in.
Give it a moment.
There's a bit, in, obviously, like, you know, Avengers Assemble had Iron Man, Pirates of the Caribbean has Johnny Depp. And it's just, I had this thing with Avengers where every time somebody was on screen with Tony Stark, they act like Tony Stark. Like, there's the same thing in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Whenever like everyone's on stage with Johnny Depp, they start acting like Johnny Depp, and they start sort of like, they see that he's obviously stealing the scene, so then everyone sort of tries to do this sort of, I don't know, like quippy, and it didn't work for me at all. Like Avengers, and everyone ends up sounding like Joss Whedon.
Controversial.
Like, everyone sounds like Joss Whedon in that film, and Joss Whedon sounds like Iron Man, so it was just everyone sounded like Iron Man when they spoke.
That's kind of what you get when you go into a Joss Whedon film,
Yeah,
to
I
be
know
honest.
that, but I don't know, it didn't seem like anybody had their own personality. Like, you know, you had all these different people coming from all these different films.
To be fair, Captain America doesn't have a personality in the first place.
Whoa there.
But he does have really nice pecs. So.
Do you not think, though, that...
He's a good man, he's a good decent man, that's his personality.
Got your shield in the back.
Yes, that's mine.
Hold it, stroke it. If you would have tried to do Avengers without that wit, it would have been just a colossal
It's not the
mess.
it's not the wit though. It's just the fact that it's the same kind of, I don't know. It felt like everyone was just trying to be Tony Stark, and no one had enough time to be off by themselves, and no one had enough time to show their actual personality. Especially Banner as well, because we hadn't seen that Banner yet. So in Avengers, when he turns up, and even though I really, really liked him, I thought he was one of the best things in the film, it did seem like he was just being Tony Stark.
I disagree. Yeah, I disagree. That scene between Black Widow and Banner when she's first telling him to, I didn't think that was Tony Stark at all. And
no,
really
that's because Tony Stark wasn't on screen with him.
I'm not going with this theory.
As soon as Tony Stark's on the screen, they all start acting like Tony Stark. Go back and watch the film, honestly.
Okay.
I watched it again recently, and it's exactly what happens. They'll start off talking in their normal voice, and then Tony Stark will say something, and then they'll come back and try and be just as quippy. And it's just like two Iron Mans talking to each other.
In regards to kind of like the argument that you didn't really feel as though each of them got their personality across, would you not argue that's what their individual films are for, and that if you try and give them all like half an hour of character development, it's never
I'm not saying that. I'm
work.
just thinking it didn't feel like they brought their character to it. I'm not saying I want them to go off and have a little adventure for 30 minutes, like while they go off to get coffee or something. But
that sounds amazing.
But I don't know. Avengers didn't work for me, but in a way that didn't work for me. But Iron Man 3 definitely did, because you know it was just Stark, and everyone was with Stark, and I even like Don Cheadle, who I also don't like.
He was. I thought he was great. He got a couple of really.
Do you like anyone?
Yeah, anyone at all. But I think he had a couple of really great moments. And I think that was the first film where I've seen Rhodey as actually a decent character and an integral character. I was like, you're badass, you know. Thought it was great.
Yeah.
To me, I'd probably say Avengers Assemble is the best Marvel film, just because it takes all those Marvel qualities of being fun and being silly and being cartoony. It just takes those to the max, and it's just ridiculous amounts of fun. And you know, there's not too much peril, but who cares, kind of thing. It's just ridiculous fun.
Yeah, I'd say that I actually do prefer Iron Man 3 to Avengers. As much as I love Avengers, and I do love Avengers, and I love Captain America. I really do. Iron Man 3, just, I think, I need to see it again, but I've got a feeling it has more rewatch appeal. First time I saw Avengers Assemble, I was absolutely blown away by it. I loved it so much. But then the second time I saw it, it just didn't have that spark. Whereas I think Iron Man just has so much going on. Hopefully anyway, it has that rewatch appeal.
I was going to say, if we are kind of judging the Marvel movies as kind of barometers of fun, as it were, Iron Man 3, I loved it, but Avengers had moments in it that literally made me want to squeal like a little girl, because they were that well executed, and they were that so nerdily brilliant. Whereas I think Iron Man had really solid everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but at no point did I go, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
I mean,
Avengers did that to me.
To be fair, the Avengers screening, there were 2 spontaneous rounds of applause, and at this, I don't think there was there
No, there was one.
One.
It was the Mandarin. It was right at the end of the Mandarin scene. That was like.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that-
So,
that-
yeah.
that,
Okay, so draw then.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
And kind of tying it back into the Avengers, so the infamous Marvel kind of Easter egg, the moment at the end of the credits that we had to wait like 10 minutes for, and I hope you did wait 10 minutes for it. What did everyone think? Was it worth it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd much rather the funny little ones that I mean, you go in and you expect you're going to see something from, you know, the next movie or something like that, but I much prefer the funny ones and just having Banner there like falling asleep, but he tied it into the beginning of the film as well, which is I don't think it's been done before in those ones, like where they, you know, he's talking to someone at the beginning of the film. There's this huge like VO going all the way through it. Yeah. You actually find out, oh, he was talking to Banner the entire time.
And he fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something I was going to kind of mention earlier is when we're talking about what Shane Black brought to it. I rewatched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang like a few days before Iron Man 3, just kind of in preparation.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how many similarities there were, like with the kind of, it starts with a voiceover, ends with a voiceover, and kind of plays around with it. So I thought, yeah, that was a nice touch.
Because the Avengers one where they go to
Shawarma.
Yeah, that is, for me, that's way better than seeing Samuel L. Jackson turn up again, say something else.
If they would have had Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah, I mean,
somehow.
in honesty, I was slightly hoping for some Guardians of the Galaxy action, and I did wonder, like, it's one of those things that always makes me wonder, like, were those rumours just totally made up when people were saying he develops a spacesuit and he goes up into space at the end? Was that just made up?
Well, again, you just don't know with Marvel, like, you don't know how much of that is kind of done on purpose as part of the hype, because obviously the images they released did feature the suit that allows Tony to fly into space. Yeah. Though, interestingly, that's now been blown up as part of the clean slate, so I don't know how he's going to get into space if he does choose to go to space.
That's another thing, like Dark Knight, right? The clean slate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, not to be superly nerdy, but I think in the comics at the moment they've just started Guardians of the Galaxy and they've written Tony into it as a character who flies into space, so they're trying to dovetail everything. But interestingly, I don't reckon it'll go that way.
No, and I have to say I am the lone voice of miserableness here, because I didn't like it at all. No.
At all?
No, it felt like something that they'd done in literally 15 minutes. Like, you know, Mark Ruffalo didn't seem fully in character. It just seemed like Mark Ruffalo like having a bit of a laugh.
He has got the hardest character to get in character for, though, I guess.
He has, but it really felt like two completely separate characters for me. But it's not that. It's more that I love those stings at the end where they get you excited for the next film. I didn't really like the shawarma thing either, to be honest. Yeah, it's just, you know. Though Avengers got away with it because they had the mid-credit sting where you saw Thanos, and I was like, that is amazing. I wanted something like that in Iron Man 3 and I didn't get it, so actually it's rubbish.
So I mean, kind of post-credits aside, I think it's fairly universal that everyone here loved it.
Yeah.
But it'd be really interesting to hear what you guys think. So feel free to come on to www.totalfilm.com, facebook.com/totalfilm, and twitter.com/totalfilm, and let us know what you thought. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks.